Okay, so changes in mitochondrial function is something that we've seen obviously since the days of Warburg, but actually targeting the mitochondria as a therapeutic strategy, that's probably only gained momentum probably over the last 5 years or so. The signaling pathways involved in mitochondrial function are certainly hot topics in the literature right now. You can find it all over the place. And in terms of the development of mitochondrial targeted agents, we're, I would say, probably at least 10 years ahead of the current research in understanding the biological mechanisms involved with respect to the microbe, but also in actually having a compound that's capable of metabolic alteration in cancer cells. And it goes way beyond cancer. We have the potential here to usher in a new era where an understanding of cell wall deficient bacteria as the causative agents in a broad host of unknown etiologies will surely provide us a significant advantage. This is the era of small molecular weight compounds. So let's talk about the mechanism of impairment. In my opinion, cancer and its allied diseases are the result of ROS, reactive oxygen species induced oncogenic transformation that's secondary to the integration of the activated amine. And we're not so much concerned with the organism as much as we are with its chemical constituents that condense to form these incredibly strong bonds with the transport intermediates in the complex 1 protein. I think most would embrace the idea that a variety of agents can induce mutation, but the microbial factor, and I'm not the first to identify it, is essential in understanding mitochondrial malignancy. There are some that suggest or would suggest that hypoxia causes the progression or the progressive elevation of mitochondrial ROS production, thereby promoting stabilization. Well, that's partially true. ROS is not directly hypoxia induced, in my opinion. It is most generally the integration of activated amines of microbial agents, mostly cell wall deficient forms, but viruses and certainly with pollution index, aromatic amines can quite often represent that carcinogenic initiator. We often hear of protection from ROS in the literature, but we very rarely hear any discussion about ROS as a protective mechanism. I'm not suggesting that ROS-induced oxidative DNA damage is not a reality, because it is, but I am suggesting that oxidative stress is the result of complex 1 dysfunction relating directly to the role of activated amines, whatever their source may be, if it's bacterial, viral, or chemical. And I should probably say, I didn't say that the hypoxia was not a factor, because it is. It's the primary predisposing factor leading to the integration of the amine and the resulting elevation of ROS production. So I wanted to make that clear. Now, respiration studies, for us at least, have played a very significant role in helping us understand mitochondrial disease. The incubation of rat liver mitochondria with activated amines obtained through extraction of the chemical class from infected models has provided us the opportunity to understand the effects of the BX on respiration, and certainly we've used some of our other technologies in conjunction with respiration as well, or respirometry as well, to understand that. But so you take the isolated mitochondria in a closed chamber, and you can clearly measure the effect of amine integration on O2 consumption. You can see consumption rate drop in some cases to about 50% of the untreated preparations. And then you can see the effect of the BX when you add the BX to the preparation on restoring respiration in the treated preparations. Here the BX increases respiration back to normal levels by correcting the respiratory chain dysfunction. You'll always see a direct relationship between oxygen kinetics and the pathology. Tissue or cell cultures or isolated mitochondria, whatever the media is that you are employing. Now here we're obviously talking about closed respirometry, but we can see the same effect in open respirometry. We can easily assess the restoration of the oxidative mechanism through open analysis of VO2, CO2, and the exchange ratios. Although we've achieved a very high level of efficacy already with the BX, we certainly could optimize the BX, and we're in the process of doing that. Some of the areas that we're preparing to explore in 2013 as really kind of a function of ongoing research is quantitative PCR assay. The ability to differentiate between damaged and undamaged templates will allow for some improvements. Activity assays for OXPHOS complex as a complement to respirometry, NADH assays for measuring electron transport in complex 1, and I could discuss, I don't know, maybe 10 or more what we'd consider core in vitro measures. But even without any of these, if we didn't employ any, if we didn't go forward at all in the R&D, we're already far surpassing most of the prevailing therapeutic strategies across the board, in a broad spectrum as well. We're not talking just about cancer. And in my opinion, when you're targeting mitochondria, the diagnostic landscape just completely opens up. In vivo or clinically, I prefer to use, when we're talking about diagnostics, kind of a hybrid diagnostic model, a mix of respirometry, oxidative stress testing, where we're actually measuring blood concentrations of reactive oxygen metabolites, particularly hydroperoxides, and then blending that with blood diagnostics. That could include ESR, LDH, CRP, markers, basic CBC, and then, of course, the imaging. I think with that approach, at least during the study phase, you're able to demonstrate the relationship between change in respiration and the resolution of the disease. Just a thought. I think it would certainly be a very appealing part of indexing that in the literature. So let's discuss a mechanism of action with regard to the BX. The BX is a photocatalytic agent. It's a non-toxic synthetic compound that we, through a series of events, expose to specific wavelengths of light in what we call a special photon reactor that accelerates electrons in a way that allows them to absorb energy through a new type of photofission that releases the energy only with secondary triggers. So we're talking about the ability to retain that. Mainly the interaction with activated amines is what actually will trigger the release. The molecule achieves what the hydroxyl radical, the highly reactive hydroxyl radical species, fails to achieve as part of the reactive oxygen species because of its half-life, mainly. What the ROS system is attempting to do, the BX succeeds in doing by simply catalyzing peroxide-mediated oxidations directly in the activated amine. Simply put, the BX is an energy molecule, okay, that loves amine groups. It triggers the formation of higher-order peroxides. The result is the restoration of highly efficient respiratory chains. Another interesting test for measuring progress is what we call a crenation test. This is a simple test of live red cell tonicity based on the fact that healthy cells, energetically fit cells, are internally hypotonic compared to the weak cells. This is due to a couple of ATP consuming activities, namely active export of sodium and the biosynthesis of macromolecules from ATP subunits. But this is a patient on day one. Notice that only about 70% of the cells crenate in a 1% sodium chloride solution. In other words, 70% of the cells are hypotonic, healthy, highly energetic cells. About 30% of the cells are hypertonic. Okay, hypertonic cells demonstrating impaired glycolytic function, degraded ATP output. And here's the same. This is the same patient. Within 1 week after treatment, you can see that the percentage of crenated cells is much higher after the BX treatment has been initiated. The crenation percentage will always follow LDH, sed rate, CRP, and the marker values, even though you may get some flares in those areas. Large molecular weight compounds aren't going to do it. Okay? Keep in mind that pharmaceuticals are the 5th leading cause of death in the United States. They cause more disease than they cure. Now, if you're for pure profitability, well, that works pretty well. That's why healthcare is 17 to 18% of the GDP in the U.S. So understanding that the BX protocol and the related technologies represent a benefit to the government, just in terms of efficacy and reducing cost, it may not represent the long-term profitability consistent with big pharma. It's not a maintenance drug, plain and simple. On the other hand, people pay big bucks for something with curative action. The cat's out of the bags in the States. People are really starting to understand that the medical profession here generally makes people sicker, not better.